this Friday night, trade talks terminated. The U.S. president cancels negotiations with Canada, angry over an Ontario government TV ad that condemns tariffs through the words of a former president.
America's jobs and growth are at stake.
The response from the Prime Minister and Ontario's Premier. Plus, the looming U.S. Supreme Court case that threatens to upend Trump's tariffs, what it could mean for Canada. And the big day for the boys in blue, from the preparations to the superstitions.
I wear the same jersey, and I don't wash it.
The excitement in Toronto and across Canada for Game 1 of the World Series.
Global National with Donna Friesen. Reporting tonight, Jeff Semple.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. It's Game 1 of the World Series, but we begin tonight with a political curveball from the U.S. president. Donald Trump is once again terminating trade talks with Canada. This time, he's blaming an anti-tariff TV ad that was produced by the Ontario government. It's been airing this week in the U.S. and features part of a speech from former Republican President Ronald Reagan. In a late-night social media post, Trump wrote, "Tariffs are very important to the national security and economy of the USA. Based on their egregious behavior, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated." Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada is prepared to resume talks when the Americans are ready. And this afternoon, Ontario Premier Doug Ford announced plans to pull that ad, but not before it airs during the World Series in front of a massive TV audience. David Akin begins our coverage tonight with the fallout from that controversial ad that has also divided Canada's political leaders. David.
Well, Jeff, it was the Ronald Reagan Foundation that first said that the Ontario government misrepresents what the former president said in a 1987 radio address. But the foundation did not explain why. Neither did Donald Trump when he called the Ontario ad fraudulent and fake. The ads are set to run this weekend in the U.S. during the World Series.
And you don't hear a splash?
And that's fine with Manitoba's premier.
So to my good friend Doug Ford, keep the ads on TV. They're effective, and this country is behind you.
But in the statement Friday afternoon, Ontario Premier Doug Ford said, in speaking with Prime Minister Carney, Ontario will pause its U.S. advertising campaign effective Monday so that trade talks can resume. The Prime Minister, about to board a plane for 25 hours of travel to Malaysia, said talks with the U.S. had been constructive and he's ready to resume them.
We stand ready to pick up on that progress and build on that progress when the Americans are ready to have those discussions.
But Ford is drawing fire from this side of the border. Former Saskatchewan Premier Brad Wall took to social media to say what he called Ford's stunts were, quote, worse than reckless in terms of our economy. And some Canadian business leaders are saying privately that Ford is unpopular in Trump's inner circle. And a member of that inner circle seemed to confirm that.
I guess the lack of flexibility and, also I would guess that leftover behaviors from like the Trudeau folks that can be very frustrating for people who are negotiating.
My fellow Americans.
As for that 1987 radio address from Reagan, he was explaining why he himself had just imposed tariffs on Japanese semiconductors.
Clear evidence that Japanese companies were engaging in unfair trade practices that violated an agreement between Japan and the United States.
That sounds a lot like the language Donald Trump uses, except that while Trump is enthusiastic about tariffs, Reagan was not.
Imposing such tariffs or trade barriers and restrictions of any kind are steps that I am loath to take. When someone says, let's impose tariffs on...
The Ontario ad does not acknowledge that Reagan had just imposed tariffs, but it accurately quotes Reagan describing the long-term impacts of tariffs and trade wars.
Then the worst happened. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs.
Trump is also headed to Asia this weekend to attend the very same summits as Carney. Now, no meetings have been announced, but they will both be in Malaysia and Korea over the next few days. Jeff.
All right, David Akin in Ottawa. Thanks, David. In another social media post early this morning, President Trump also accused Canada of trying to, quote, illegally influence an upcoming U.S. Supreme Court decision on whether Trump's tariffs are legal. That case will be heard in early November. Trump has even suggested he might attend the proceedings in person. The Supreme Court's decision carries consequences for dozens of countries facing those U.S. tariffs. Jackson Prosko reports on what it could mean for Canada.
For the justices, it's yet another test of how far a president can go, as they hear arguments over whether Donald Trump has the authority to unilaterally impose tariffs, a case that could ultimately see his tariffs struck down.
If we are not allowed to use what other people use against us, there's no defense. It'll be a disaster for America. That's why I think I'm going to go to the Supreme Court to watch it.
To justify his signature economic policy, Trump has used a law known as the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, claiming trade imbalances and fentanyl trafficking constitute national emergencies.
For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered.
The issue is that Trump bypassed Congress, which has authority over tariffs, leading lower courts to repeatedly rule the import duties illegal and unconstitutional. Now, facing the Supreme Court, Trump claims repealing tariffs would trigger another Great Depression.
This country will have no financial security, will not have national security.
I think that kind of claims of economic devastation, which themselves are very questionable, I don't think really going to weigh heavily on whether or not this is legal or not.
The bad news for Canada is that even if the tariffs are struck down, Trump will likely find other ways to reimpose them, while duties on Canadian steel and aluminum would not be impacted by any Supreme Court decision. They're here until a deal is negotiated.
We have made ourselves a 51st state over many, many years, right? From an economic dependency perspective, more than 75% of trade is dependent on the U.S.
As Canada works to realign its trading relationships with other countries, the Trump administration has made it clear it will find a way to keep tariffs in place, especially with Trump counting on them to provide trillions of dollars in revenue for the U.S. budget. Jeff?
Jackson Prosko in Washington. Thanks, Jackson. Canada is hitting back against two U.S. automakers after they announced plans to cut production and jobs north of the border. The federal government says Stellantis and General Motors broke promises to maintain their Canadian operations. Ottawa previously gave Stellantis more than $100 million to retool its Canadian plants. But Stellantis now says it's moving its Jeep Compass line from Ontario to Illinois, while GM is ending its electric vans production in Ingersoll, Ontario. In response, the government is cutting the number of vehicles those two automakers can import tariff-free. Well, turning to another brewing battle pitting Canada against the U.S., sports fans on both sides of the border are taking in Game 1 of the World Series tonight. And for the first time in more than 3 decades, it's on Canadian soil. The Blue Jays secured home field advantage with a superior regular season record, but the L.A. Dodgers are considered the favorites to repeat as champions. Hoping for a little leftover luck from the last time the Jays won it all, the team's former manager, Cito Gaston, is throwing the ceremonial first pitch. Our Eric Sorensen is outside the Rogers Center for us tonight. Eric.
Jeff, it has quite a ring to it. The World Series is in Toronto. The venerable Los Angeles Dodgers, the upstart Toronto Blue Jays. In May, 19 Major League teams had a better record than the Blue Jays, but here we are in October, and they've surprised everyone.
Let's go Blue Jays! Fans have danced in the streets, they've lined up for merchandise, some have paid exorbitant ticket prices. Even the Toronto Symphony is collaborating with the Blue Jays to support this overachieving, heart-stopping baseball team.
What a moment for this city. That was incredible.
The hero of their last game, George Springer, has won a World Series before, but says this team is special.
I love these guys in this locker room, and just to be around them and to hear the stuff that they're saying, just how excited everybody is, it means a lot.
Veterans welcome the success of players like Ernie Clement, who's new to the spotlight.
I can't wait to show up to the field every day. I think it's rare that you get a group that just really loves each other as much as we do, and I just love hanging out with these guys.
The Dodgers are a daunting opponent, a history of success, the defending World Series champions, and the best all-round player perhaps ever. When he's on the mound, Jeff Hoffman tries to shut out who he's facing, but staring down Shohei Ohtani?
It becomes harder with a guy like Shohei because he's one of a kind.
The Jays have their own supernova in the baseball galaxy, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And behind a novice pitcher, Treya Savage, starting the World Series, even the Dodgers recognize there is something about this Jays team.
I think that, some part of it you could argue that the naivete, the inexperience is a good thing.
They got a lot of confidence right now. They're doing a good job of just like each at bat, like fueling off of each other.
Speaking of Blue Jays bats, a boost for the team today.
I hope I can contribute at a high level.
Bo Bichette is back on the roster after an injury, where he had time to observe the never-say-die qualities of this team.
I think the biggest lesson that I've learned, I think that we've all learned this year, is that it takes a team to win. It takes everybody on the roster to win.
Everywhere you go in the city, you can see people wearing Blue Jays jerseys and hats. There is an undeniable excitement about this team, and I think it extends right across the country. Jeff?
Eric Sorensen in Toronto. Thanks, Eric. Toronto police are deploying extra security measures to help ensure that the World Series is a safe and enjoyable event.
Fans can expect to see a significant and visible police presence both inside and outside Rogers Centre.
Police are blocking roads around the Rogers Centre, deploying more officers in and around the stadium and enforcing drone no-fly zones. Toronto is also hosting a free watch party outside City Hall at Nathan Phillips Square.
To celebrate the occasion, I dug up my 93 World Series championship cap.
Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow says she's made a friendly bet with LA's Mayor Karen Bass. Both women are avid cyclists, so the loser will have to wear the opposing team's jersey and go for a long bike ride. Ukraine's president lands in London. Coming up, how world leaders are responding to Volodymyr Zelensky's request for long-range weapons to strike deep inside Russia. The U.S. is scaling up its military presence in the Caribbean. The White House says it's deploying an aircraft carrier to Latin America to monitor and disrupt suspected drug trafficking. It's also sending 8 warships, a nuclear submarine, and an F-35 aircraft. The move is stoking tensions with Venezuela. The U.S. accuses the government there of harboring drug traffickers. The U.S. Secretary of State says the military struck another vessel overnight in the Caribbean with alleged links to a terrorist organization and drug smuggling. Marco Rubio claims the boat was carrying narcotics. 6 people were killed. It's the 10th U.S. strike targeting a suspected drug vessel since September. The Ukrainian president is in London, England for the 3rd time this year and received a warm royal reception. King Charles welcomed Volodymyr Zelenskyy at Windsor Castle, where they inspected the guard. Zelenskyy expressed gratitude for the king's unwavering support. Zelenskyy is in the UK for a meeting with world leaders, including from Canada, to discuss support for Ukraine. The US is refusing Zelensky's request for long-range Tomahawk missiles. Redmond Shannon reports on how the so-called coalition of the willing is planning to ramp up pressure on Russia.
1 week after Volodymyr Zelenskyy left Washington empty-handed without long-range US Tomahawk missiles, the Ukrainian president arrived in London, still seeking them out. Ukrainian refugees welcoming Zelenskyy before he and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer got down to business. International allies of Ukraine joining the meeting in person, with Canada's Defence Minister David McGuinty and other leaders attending via video link.
We also need to continue to step up our military support to Ukraine. Air defense capacities, long-range capabilities, drones and anti-drone systems.
The so-called coalition of the willing did not make any concrete announcement, but leaders were united in their desire to see Ukraine get more long-range missiles, weapons that can strike energy targets deep inside Russia with much more force than Ukrainian drones.
And pushing the case for long range. It is really important that we do have long range, and those discussions are ongoing.
The leaders keen as ever to praise Donald Trump as they move away from Russian oil and gas. The US president sanctioned Russia this week, a move that appeared to trigger China and India to suspend some Russian oil imports.
And they show once again that President Trump is absolutely committed to end this war and bring a lasting peace to Ukraine.
On Friday, Russian airstrikes hit the Ukrainian city of Kherson, killing at least 2 people.
Russia's goal hasn't changed. They want to break us.
Despite the Kremlin's displeasure with the new US sanctions, one of Russian President Vladimir Putin's special envoys has arrived in the United States. The White House says he will meet with his US counterpart, Steve Witkoff, in Florida on Saturday. Jeff?
Redmond Shannon on Downing Street in London. Thanks, Red. Still ahead, Inuit Me Too, how the movement is gaining momentum in Canada's north. Nearly a decade since it gained global prominence, the Me Too movement is now making inroads in Canada's north. The Inuit Me Too campaign is about holding Inuit men in positions of power to account. Nunavut Senator Nancy Karatek Lindell is speaking out on the issue. In a post on social media, she says, "True leadership means choosing courage over comfort. We need to stop giving space for abusers to hold these positions of trust." Melissa Ridgen is following the Inuit Me Too movement for us. And Melissa, I understand a women's advocacy group now finds itself in the crosshairs.
That's right. Over the past week, the Inuit Me Too movement has not lost steam, demanding accountability from Inuit organizations they say are protecting men who've abused and harassed women. But now Pauktutit, the National Inuit Women's Advocacy Group, is itself in the line of fire with accusations that its board chair is anti-LGBTQ too, based on purported social media posts she made.
If people in that organization can't push aside their internal biases to follow the mandate, then it is a defunct corporation. The whole thing doesn't work.
Shortly after a new board was announced on October 8th, CEO Nikki Komiksudiksak, a queer woman, was fired and 2 others departed the organization. Louis Mike didn't respond to an interview request. In a statement Wednesday, the organization said board chair Louis Mike is taking a leave of absence while an investigation happens. Many Inuit women are watching closely.
If you're taking those spaces, you need to be there to really identify and be able to rally for the people that you're there to represent. If you're not a safe individual, then you have no right sitting at that table anymore.
Meanwhile, Nunavut NDP Lori Idlut seemingly calls out the Me Too movement in a statement to Global News, saying she supports women standing up to their abusers, but does not support putting people down to lift ourselves up from our traumas. By dealing with our grief, pains, and angers, we should not spread hate.
Knowing that's, again, somebody in a powerful position has a statement like that is... I can't believe it. I'm without words for that.
Why don't we flip the script a little bit and go, it's pretty hateful to watch women be hurt.
As the movement grows and focus shifts, Inuit women say its roots remain unchanged, which is to shine light in dark places to force systemic change across Inuit territory. Melissa Ridgen, Global News, Winnipeg.
Blue Jays buzz. Up next, the anticipation and superstition surrounding the World Series. Well, take a look at this pep rally featuring some of the Blue Jays' smallest fans. Hundreds of elementary students in Toronto were singing their support for the Jays' World Series berth as part of the Toronto District School Board's first ever Spirit Day. Canadian rock band Arkells were even there to play backup. Well, those students weren't born the last time the Blue Jays went to the World Series 32 years ago, and there's a lot of talk from young and old about whether the team can repeat that success. Some diehard fans are doing their part, crossing their fingers and toes, among many other game day rituals and superstitions. Nicole DiDonato reports.
Vamos
Akin is a big fan of the Toronto Blue Jays, and his support for the team goes beyond just cheering them on.
I wear the same jersey, and I don't wash it. I haven't washed it yet.
Akin says his girlfriend got him the custom jersey for their anniversary. He doesn't plan on washing it until the World Series against the LA Dodgers is over.
I guess just good luck, you know. Things are going well. I'm sure if things start not going well, I'll probably change it up.
He isn't the only Jays fan with game day superstitions.
This is the lucky outfit, yes.
Can you show it off to us? Like maybe we get a little spin. There we go.
That's it. We have to have the TV volume at the exact same level every time we watch the game. So we watched one game, they won. The volume has not changed on our TV since then.
When they won the first game, the game 6, we came back the next night for the game 7, and we all had to sit in the same order in order to make sure that the baseball gods weren't upset.
Jays manager John Schneider has his own rituals.
Coffee in the morning, same time, and a few more that are a little bit more intricate at the field in terms of what color, what right, left you're putting on first, what watch I'm wearing.
So do Dodgers fans.
Dodger attire all day long, yes.
If the Dodgers are up, I have to pause it and freeze it, and then when the pitch is made, I let the recorder go again and I watch it.
While superstitions and rituals do not have a direct link to the outcome of a game, an expert with a PhD in sports psychology says the higher the stakes, the more prominent these practices become.
I think universally these things come up in times of high stress and high anxiety because it's a mechanism to grab back some of that control.
Others just leave it up to fate.
They're going to win. I don't need a superstition. It's just going to happen.
Nicole DiDonato, Global News, Toronto.
And that is Global National for this Friday. I'm Jeff Semple. Tonight's Your Canada showcases the world's tallest teepee in Medicine Hat, Alberta, the marina in Charlottetown, PEI, and the autumn colors in Barrie, Ontario. Keep them coming. Send your pictures of Canadian pride to Global National at globalnews.ca. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the game. See you tomorrow.